like to walk at night. There is something soothing about the silence and the darkness, especially in a busy city like mine. I usually walk for an hour or two, listening to music and thinking about life. One night, I was walking on a quiet street, when I noticed a man walking towards me on the opposite sidewalk. He was tall and thin, wearing a suit and a hat. He had a wide smile on his face, and he was dancing. Not like a normal dance, but a weird, exaggerated waltz. He would take long strides, spin around, and sway from side to side. He looked like he was having the time of his life. I thought he was drunk or high, or maybe just crazy. I tried to ignore him and keep walking, but I couldn't help but glance at him every few seconds. He was getting closer and closer, and his smile never faded. He didn't seem to notice me at all. He just kept dancing and looking up at the sky. When he was about 10 feet away from me, he suddenly stopped. He stood still on the sidewalk, facing me. His smile was wider than ever, and his eyes were wide open. He stared at me with an intense gaze, as if he was trying to read my mind. I felt a chill run down my spine. I didn't know what he wanted from me, but I knew it wasn't good. I crossed the street, hoping to avoid him. I looked back at him as I did, and saw that he didn't move. He just kept staring at me with that creepy smile. I quickened my pace, and turned the corner. I hoped that he would leave me alone, and that I would never see him again. But I was wrong. As soon as I turned the corner, I heard his footsteps behind me. He was following me. He was still dancing, still smiling, still staring. He was getting faster and faster, closing the gap between us. I panicked. I ran as fast as I could, hoping to find someone else on the street, or a store that was open, or anything that could help me. But there was no one. The street was deserted. The only sound was his footsteps and his laughter. He was laughing. He was laughing like a maniac, like he was enjoying this game of cat and mouse. Like he knew something that I didn't. I turned another corner, and saw a park ahead of me. There was a bench near the entrance, where an old man was sitting. He looked like he was homeless, or maybe just lonely. He had a beard and a coat, and a bag next to him. I ran towards him, hoping that he would help me, or at least scare off the smiling man. I reached the bench, and shouted at him. "Help me! There's a man chasing me. He's crazy." The old man looked up at me with a confused expression. He didn't say anything. I looked back at the street, and saw the smiling man coming closer. He was almost there. He saw me looking at him, and his smile grew even wider. He waved at me. "Hi," he said in a cheerful voice. He reached the park entrance, and stopped. He tilted his head to the side, and winked at me. Then he turned around, and walked away. He walked away like nothing had happened. Like it was all a joke. Like he had just said hello to an old friend. I watched him go, until he disappeared from my sight. I couldn't believe what had just happened. I turned to the old man on the bench, hoping for some explanation. But he wasn't there anymore. He had left his bag behind. I opened it, hoping to find some clue about who he was. But all I found inside was a suit and a hat. And a note that read, "Thanks for playing."